Hello, tabletop wargamers, and welcome to Tried and True, a podcast hosted by the Delaware War Machine community. Join us as we dive deep into topics around our favorite games, exploring methods and techniques proven to enhance anyone's gaming experience. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 8th episode of Tried and True. I'm your host, Paul.
I'm Erica.
Dan and Andy are not going to be with us this episode. They are currently prepping for their Warfaire Weekend Qualifier, the Liberty Brawl, so we'll be hanging out with them on the next episode, but we are keeping up with the theme and having our final guest on for the series. We are going to be having longtime, event coordinator Gonzo on here. So Gonzo, go ahead and take an opportunity to say hello.
Hey, I am Gonzo. I am the event coordinator, program manager, and now president of Warfaire Weekend. We have just moved into a nonprofit status, so I took over the role of president.
That's awesome.
So this is really cool because on this series, we're talking about hosting your large event. Mm-hmm. And we end up having Grant Ritchie talk about his Liberty Brawl Warfare Weekend Qualifier. So we wanted to actually kind of get a little bit more insight on Warfare Weekend itself, how new players can get into the qualifiers themselves, mm-hmm. and then if we're interested in running a Warfare Weekend qualifier, like the major do's and don'ts, and let's go ahead and just get started. And Gonzo, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and just give us some background of your experience with War Machine and Hordes? Do you actively play, or did you used to play?
I have played War Machine and Hordes since the first iteration when all we had were battle boxes.
Oh, Mark 1.
I am a Mark 1 old school person.
That's what's up, man.
We had everything was metal. The old school days where all we had was a battle box, and that was it.
Computer metals are all like heavy as hell.
Oh yeah,
everything was like
yeah,
really expensive back then.
Yeah,
paperweights.
Yeah, the old Jack in a sock type mentality.
Oh yeah, I have a behemoth that weighs like 20 pounds in the basement.
Yeah, so that's where I started. I started playing War Machine and Hordes when that first came out. We were waiting for troops and solos. I became a press ganger right after that. I think I was like one of the first 20, 30 type people to become a press ganger. Did press ganging up until it got dissolved. I actually was the press ganger that put on the best Hordes release party, and I got my entire Legion of Everblight for free from the company, which
that's awesome.
That's just awesome
really
in my opinion.
What faction did you play in Mark 1?
I played Minoth. Minoth was my thing. I played the hell out of some Minoth, and that was my gig at first. And I moved from Minoth to I have played every single faction and owned every single faction except Circle and Crucible Guard. And right now I'm playing Khador and Grimkin, but Grimkin is my flavor of all time. That's my jam. I love the aesthetic. I love the way it plays. I love the cards. It's my dream that every time I go to a convention, I always ask people if they want to take free strikes against my models, so I can trigger events, off the cards. Which was there was a convention, MuseCon, and it's where I got second place in one of the qualifiers. And I was telling people, do you want to take a free strike? She's going to walk away. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, you killed this model. All my models heal up completely. Get that thing. And that was known at the convention of never take a free strike against Gonzo.
I've had 2 Arcana up and around before. I actually also play Grimkin and Khador. So Khador is my War Machine faction, Grimkin my Hordes. So when I came back to Mark 3, so I was a Mark 1 player, missed all of Mark 2, came back in 3, trying to take a look at the land. I was like, oh, okay, it's a limited faction. I'll try these guys out. They're a ton of fun. I really, really enjoy playing Grimkin.
Yeah, see, I like Child and, oh my gosh, what's his name?
Dewander, King of Nothing.
No.
Heretic's
my favorite because I love the troop spam with him.
Yeah, I'm running a Heretic Wanderer pairing right now.
Yeah, I like a good Child and Heretic pairing, and I like Heretic with all the buffs and you can just hit devastating hard with him. Plus, it's nice to pull him around and do stuff.
Yeah, he's nasty with a Gorehound. They synergize very well together.
So that's what I've been with War Machine and Hordes, and been playing that for forever. So I'm almost 50 years old, so I've been playing for quite a while.
It's all good. So I got to ask you this. All right, mm-hmm. Warfare Weekend. You were a player, a press ganger. How did you end up, getting to be the guy who's organize the event? Were you just like a helper to begin with? Were you the person in charge to begin with? Like what's the history of Warfare Weekend like with you and it overall?
Originally, to start off, it was War Machine Weekend by Carl Morgan, the great creator and savior of all of us type thing. And he did it for about 15 years, I think is what it was. I was there for like the first War Machine Weekend and just kept on going. It kept on growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually it came to what it is kind of now. And 3 years ago, he said he had to retire. And so I partnered up with someone to continue doing everything that was done with it, but we had to branch out from being a strictly War Machine and Hordes convention to other convention, other games.
Is that why the name changed to Warfare Weekend?
Yeah, it was a rebranding issue. War Machine Weekend. War Machine is, pretty much copyrighted by the company, and we didn't want to step on anybody's toes or, cause any flack, and so we told them, it's like, hey, we're going to do a name change, rebranding. That way we can bring other games and companies in to, keep the convention going. Bring more people in. Many people come in, they may play one of the smaller games we have or another game, and they see War Machine and Hordes, and they do demos. So, it's a win-win, in our opinion.
Gotcha.
So we decided on Warfare Weekend. We went over like 20 different names. And so we went with Warfare Weekend to try to get, and as the fair, we kind of spell it, the Renaissance fair type way to give it, that type of feel. And so like all of our colors are based on Renaissance colors, purples and golds. And our little team battles that we have during the convention, our house wars, guild wars, what some people call them, but we call them house wars, happens. And so that's kind of where we go with that.
It's pretty cool. So, and then you said that you ended up helping out with the event. I guess, how did you get started with that?
Oh, I called up Carl, like Warfare Weekend too. I said, hey, I'm a press ganger. I'm willing to help you out. What can you do? And ever since then, I've been helping out with Warfare Weekend, when it was War Machine Weekend. And so, like I said, I helped him out. And, he told us, hey, I'm retiring. I can't do this anymore. My wife's going to kill me if I do it anymore. And I'm like, okay. So I took it over, ran it for 1 year, and where I took over the event planning and purchasing all the products and, all that stuff, the dice, the t-shirts and such. Had someone else that decided to step away from it. So I invited Lynn Stahl into the company. She, of course, said yes. And so she handles like all the painting and classes and painting competition that goes on, because I don't know much about that. So she handles all the painting competitions and all the classes and all the people that work in that area. And I handle all those stuff. And then we did the convention in 2021, and it went off really well, considering that we had no, positive cases. We had a really good time, and it went off. I mean, we had roughly 350 to, I think we almost peaked 400 at one point during the convention in 2021 in November. And so 2022, we're going to make it a little bit bigger. We've got a lot of new things planned. We've got our nonprofit status, so we can, get some more cool things going that way, because we've had a lot of people that say that they want to help out. They were like, hey, can I donate? And I'm like, well, if you donate, I have to tax it. And so it just becomes a hassle. And so we have a lot of people that want to see the convention and just love coming to the convention, because it's one of those conventions where people come to enjoy, to have a good time. Recently, I came back from Adepticon, and people were recognizing me, which is still kind of weird, but they were like, hey, you're so-and-so that does this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I like going to your convention. It's like Adepticon light and not serious. And I go, okay, I'll take that.
So prior to running the convention, did you run any like smaller events prior to that, or what kind of experience did you have before?
I ran small tournaments all the time, get together with people. It's always been my nature to, do things with that, run small events, do small tournaments, help people out. It's just, I want to see things succeed, and it's a game that I really love. I love the company, and I like everything that goes along with it. And so I, just try to get people busy and playing. I had one tournament, it's just a random tournament where you have to do random things to win. Winning your game does not give you the win. All the achievements that you get, it's called Steamroller with a twist. And so you had to get as many objectives on this list that you could as possible. And like one of them was, if your Warcaster or Warlock dies, take a selfie with it saying that you're disappointed in the model and tag, this company. And you would get like 10 points, or...
That's funny.
do a trample over 3 or more models, you get so many points. And so it was just all different things that, people could do to get it. Take a selfie with your opponent, shake their hand, get points, I've done just so many different varieties and things just to get people to keep playing, get people to enjoy it, and just have a good time.
So Gonzo, can you go ahead and talk about like the parallels and the differences between, like running a small level tournament versus doing one that's like at this big, large scale? Like, where are the parallels? Where are the similarities? Where are there major differences? Just so that we can kind of see like the scale.
So the things that are similar is just getting together with all your friends and playing games. And just, the socializing type thing and, reaching out to everybody going, hey, we're going to be doing this. This is what it is. The changes, well, I've never had to read CDC reports and regulate guidelines with COVID. I've never had to pay taxes. I've never had to work with federal government. The federal government on stuff to do. I actually have to contact and get permission to use certain things because now we branched out to new games. Sometimes I have to reach out to certain companies and ask permission to use things. One year I had to reach out and they had to go through Disney/Marvel for us to get permission to do stuff, which I thought was weird that I have to.
Oh, you had to deal with the mouse.
I had to deal with the mouse, and you don't mess with the mouse.
No, don't mess with the mouse and his mouse money.
Yeah. And so, it's like I can take my guys and go to the store and say, hey, I want to run a tournament. And you get together and you get a prize package and you go, this is taking it to the umpteenth level of making sure taxes are paid, reports are done. I had to read CDC reports, for COVID for the last few years, deal with a bomb threat at the convention whenever we decided to, and it didn't happen at the convention. Last year when we decided to make it, everybody had to be vaccinated to show up. We had someone that stated that I was like, well, I just blow up the place. And I'm like, hey, FBI, I got something for you. And, contact stuff like that. So, it's things you do. It's completely, if you're passionate about running something and you think you've got what it can, go ahead and do it. Watch your budget because things cost, going from no cost to $20, $30, $40, $50,000 bill is a whole different, area.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were talking about other games, introducing them to the weekend, how have you found the alternative formats for War Machine, such as Brawl Machine? Are you finding that's really picking up in popularity? And how does that affect your scheduling?
We've actually seen a decline in a lot of that. A lot of people are now wanting to just play their 50 or 75 type things.
I'm a purist. I'm the same way. I'm like 75 or bust.
Yeah. But I could get why people would want to play 50 if they're brand new to the game. That, it's just right there without having to be too confusing. But we found that alternative formats are pretty much, I wouldn't say dying, but going away because people are looking at stuff going, I would rather have the full game and its potential just at a lower point. But we do have, small things that are going on like Colossal Wrestling. That is the first event that always sells out every year.
Oh, it's like a big base brawl kind of a thing?
Colossal Wrestling is WWE with Colossals and Gargantuans.
Oh, wait, I heard about this before. Yeah. How does that work?
It's just, so you choose a Colossal or Gargantuan, you play on a small little ring, and it's usually like, a 2x2 ring, squared, section, and you pretty much do wrestling maneuvers. Your Colossal has its own wrestling stats and what it can do, and you've got like a bidding system and a rolling system, and you pretty much wrestle with Colossals and Gargantuans. And it always sells out. It's one of the first things that sells out because it's such a fun thing. Jeff Bard Easterman I always ask him to run it because he's such an amazing human being. For 1 year, he dressed up as Randy Macho Man Savage for the convention. And he stayed in character all weekend long.
Oh, that sounds like a blast.
Oh, and it's hilarious. He's such an incredible human being. He's so loving and so caring. And he's like, I says, dude, do you want anything for doing this? He's like, no, I enjoy doing this. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that these people are happy and they walk away with a lot of fun. 1 year we had, first, second, and third prize were Lucha Libre masks. And we gave a prize. You got a prize for like first, best painted Colossal, and the best entrance. So we had people walk in with their Colossals like a WWE event with like music. And we had a guy dressed up in a suit carrying a boombox playing music. And his wife was in a real, slinky dress walking in there with a Colossal and, posing and stuff. And it's like, I mean, how can you not have fun with that?
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun, actually.
That sounds like so much fun. That's crazy.
The rules are online, by the way. If you go to our Facebook page, the rules are online and you can download them for free. Privateer Press gave us the PDFs on that, and so you can get it. And it's just a fun, stupid little format just to kind of break, the going out playing a 75-point army. But I mean, like I said, we do have smaller formats, and sometimes, we used to have what was called the Young Bloods, where you had to be a brand new player, and it was played with like no time limits, no time turns. You take your old time. I remember one War Machine weekend, we had 75 Young Bloods, and we always make sure that it's not, anybody trying to sneak in to play it. And I think we played from 8 a.m. till I think it was midnight, and we only got through like 5 rounds because these were people learning the game, and we took it slow, let them have a good time. We didn't do that last year, but if we get more people, we can do that.
All right, so Gonzo, the other thing we had to ask, we talked to Seth. We had him on. He only had nice things to say about you.
He's a liar.
We love you, Seth.
I love my Seth.
He ended up telling, his favorite experiences at Boca Brawl, where it was like, everybody was drunk. It was just like they didn't show up on time for the team event. It was hilarious, and the Canadians won. Do you have a Warfare Weekend year, a favorite memory, or a couple of them?
There's quite a few. Most recently, and it was in 2019, all the players and a lot of people, we always do like a little social gathering. We didn't get to do it last year because of COVID, but we all go on the back patio, and everybody brings alcohol from around everywhere. We have a guy that makes his own mead. We had, the Canadians bring Canadians, and we sit on the back porch underneath heaters or all huddled up together when it's, too cold for the heaters or whatever. And we smoke cigars and drink alcohol and discuss things that are not War Machine and Hordes related. Like, how is your family? What is your life? Did you finish school? Did you do this? How are things going? Hey, I saw that you got a new job. How do you like it? And so it's always a family type thing that we make sure that we take care of each other, not only in the game, but outside of it. And, at one point, somebody, couldn't make it to there, so they had to rent a car. We pitched in money to help them pay for their rental of their car because they had to drive so far. So, I mean, that's like one of my biggest memories is the family level of love that is shown at the convention, especially when it comes down to, yes, we play this game. Yes, we have a lot of fun, but how is your life doing? Are you okay? Do you need any help? Have this drink with me. Let's get shit-faced, type thing.
That's kind of like what we've been promoting here with our community. We definitely put our community and people before the game. Like that's always, the number one thing. Because we were on Warjacks a couple weeks ago, and Craig brought up a really good point where, heaven forbid something happens to War Machine and Hordes, it goes away. Our community will not go away. It won't die. We'll just
correct.
Find something else to do together.
Find another game. But yeah, and that's my big take that I always take it back every year is I get to see people I only get to see maybe once a year. And I mean, we're all friends on Facebook, but there's a difference between being friends on Facebook and seeing someone and getting a hug, how are you actually doing that face to face, which has been, missed in quite a while because, COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So Gonzo, why would you say that the Warfare Weekend is such a big deal? Is it like a big bragging rights thing? Is it the best, locking horns on this field of battle? What's the biz?
Well, we need to separate something. Warfare Weekend is not just the Invitational, and it is a conglomeration of mini games where we all share our passion for gaming, tabletop, role-playing, painting, hobbying, and so that's a real big deal to me. One of my bragging rights is we're actually very affordable type thing, and so it's very affordable because we don't charge for individual games. We just charge an entry fee, and you can play whatever you want. Classes are a different story, but that's kind of my big deal is having to make it accessible to everybody. Now, the bragging rights for the Invitational, that's a whole different story. Every year we do the Invitational and we get it running. And right before it happens, I pull everybody that's qualified into a chat, and it's fun to hear them talk to each other nonstop. And they'll make side bets on stupid stuff type things. And so it's a we do give everybody that makes it into the Invitational, they do get a challenge coin as part of them saying, hey, you made it, congratulations. And so that's kind of like a bragging rights, if you want to go there, that only you and a few other people have those coins. So you get to use them as your feat token or whatever you want to use them as. And it's really nice to see the most competitive nature, most friendly competitive nature, which people need to understand, because usually things get found out and broken at Warfare Weekend. I don't know if anybody remembers the Chris Davies moment where he brought, Karchev and the,
oh, it's like the Growlers or whatever it was.
It was
Mad Dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Dog spam.
Dogs.
And immediately after that, they were like, oh, we need to fix this. And, shortly Privateer Press was like, okay, we see this problem. And that happened just last year. They found a problem where we were working on stuff and someone was like, they were watching it and they were like, oh, that rule needs to be fixed because I can see that's, it's a negative play experience. And so it got fixed after that. So, I mean, it's kind of a bragging rights that we get to find the broken stuff and they get to fix it.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I guess with that, you mentioned earlier about your young bloods, right? About your newer players. I guess some players, like, listening to the podcast may not have known about Warfare Weekend, and maybe they're, like, hungry to, try to go into this, like, invitational. I guess, how do you tell the players how they get to attend the Invitational?
Okay, if you're going to attend the Invitational, you have to actually qualify or win a spot with the last chance qualifier. So the whole purpose is you attend events that are listed as qualifiers, you become in the top 8 of that, and you earn points. Depending how many people are in that tournament depends on how many points you get. You have to at least score in the top 8 in 2 events to be considered. If you do that, usually you're on the list, but we take the top 3 scores to find out who the top 26 is to be invited. And so the more events you go to, the bigger events you go to, the more points you get, but we take the top 3 scores. So you could place top 8 in probably 15 events, but we only take your top 3 points to do that. And if you're one of the top 26 players, you're immediately invited and get to play in the Invitational. And of course, if you're the winner last year, you get your spot. But we have what's called the Last Chance Qualifier, and you play in that, and it's usually a 2-day event, and we take the top 5 players in that now. It used to be the top 1, but we decided to do the top 5. That way people can play a bit more and get more in, and someone that goes, 3-1 or X-1 has a shot to get into the Invitational. And also it helps. Well, it also helps because some people can't travel a lot. So scoring in the top 5, if you're a really good player, but you haven't had a chance to go to all these events, is a good chance for you to get, in that type of competitive nature.
Oh, that's awesome. Makes it much more accessible.
Correct. That was actually a change. We listen to all of our players as much as we can. Some things we agree with. Some names we're like, no, we can't do that. And that was one of the things that they said was, well, why don't you do like the top 5? That way, if anybody's X-1, they have a chance instead of just doing one person. Plus, a lot of people are not ready and prepared to play 6 rounds of War Machine in one day. Our bodies are not accustomed to doing that just yet.
I mean, I always think back to the meme. What is it? It's like the Squid Games, where it's like the guy in like the day 1, and he's like rocking in the corner.
Yep. Many people found out that they are not physically fit enough to play more than 3 rounds of War Machine and Hordes at our event because they haven't done that in 2 years.
I mean, I think like anybody's first steamroller is almost a wake up call. 4-round events, like I tell you what, like after my 3rd round, I'm burned out. Like I don't want to play a 4th game.
Yeah, that's kind of what's to it. Because I mean, if you think about it, at one point we had 120 players in the Last Chance Qualifier, and they dropped it down to one individual person. So break it down by how many rounds that was. That's a big thing. So now we dropped it down to the top 5. One, it lets everybody get a little bit more breather, and it also lets people that can't drive or fly or go to all these different events have a chance, a better chance than just being the top one player.
And then for these players that end up going to these qualifier events, how should they prepare for it? Is it just like any other steamroller, or should they go there with like a little bit more of an understanding that this is, you know, a higher caliber of players to go up
Lots
against?
of energy drinks.
Lots of energy drinks.
And positive energy.
A lot of positive energy. People should be, if anybody, everybody should be, you know, very accepting and, you know, wanting people to play, because this is a game overall. If someone's going to a qualifier, yes, they're probably going to go up against people that are been playing forever. But go in playing it that it's just a normal steamroller. Go and learn, go and figure out. This year was our first year someone decided to do a 50-point steamroller.
I actually wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because you normally have these qualifiers as 75-point events. How does that work with a 50-point event? Does the point values like work the same, like for your top 8, or how does that go?
So per our rules, all you have to do is run a steamroller packet. And the steamroller packet doesn't tell you what points to play at.
I think it's only supposed to be like 50 and 75, am I right?
You could play, there's a 125-point format out there where you play 2 Warcasters. The thing is everybody plays at 75, and that's the standard. But if you've got a brand new meta, and you've got a lot of people that don't have all the models and don't have enough for 75 points, why wouldn't you want to do a 50-point? Make it accessible to everybody. Everybody should get a chance to play. Even if you get, you know, do it, you're going to go and do it. The amount of points you earn doesn't change on what point value you're playing at. The amount of points you earn is based on how many people show up. So if I'm a TO and I look at it and go, I can do a 75 point and only have 15 people show up. Okay. But I could do a 50 point and I can have 50 people show up. Why wouldn't I do a 50 point?
Because that's going to be more points for whoever ends up winning that event.
Correct. Well, and on top of that, you're going to have more people into your store. You're going to have more foot traffic. You know, why not make it more accessible? As long as it's run as a steamroller, it doesn't matter how many points. I'd love to see a 125 point, right? You know, that would freak me out if I saw someone do like 120 point, you know, steamroller.
Oh man, that's like what, four arcanas at that point?
Well, yeah, and you do when you do 2 Warcasters and you can double feet. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So how did the system ever come up with people running the qualifiers? Like when they created the original Invitational, was it the goal in mind to have people run these qualifiers? And did that make the job easier overall or harder because you have to coordinate with all these other people?
Well, so originally it was done, and we had to move to a different system. Originally it was 30 events were qualifiers and they were invitationals, and whoever won that got the invitational spot. So there was no point type thing. And so, you know, you would play it, and the problem we were having, and you had other people that had events that were coming in, and it was like, oh, I want to play, but I don't get an invitational. I get what's called a wild card. And that's where you earn points. And you earn points in all of them, but in the original packet, 30 events got an invitational spot. And so you were guaranteed a spot in the invitational. As the years went on, we found that more and more people, they would earn the spot like at LVO, but life happened and they couldn't do it, so they had to drop out, and so they got, you know, another one and went down the line. And then eventually we stopped getting people wanting to do wild cards because they're like, I'm not going to do an event unless I get an invitational spot because no one's going to come to my wildcard event. So we scrapped that idea, and I stole the idea. If anybody knows, I stole it from Kings of War. They do pretty much the similar type thing format, and pretty much now every event is a wildcard technically, and everybody has a chance, and it provides more things, and we don't have to be exclusive to, well, Gen Con, LVO, all these big names get invitationals, and you have to take this small little wild card. Because eventually people are just not going to do a wild card. They're like, why would I do it? Because nobody's going to show up to my event if they know it's not an invitational spot. So we opened it up and broadened it to the current system, and this way everybody and anybody can. And we did it, you could do it more than once. It used to be you could only run one invitational and one wild card. So now you could come up and go, all right, in January, I'm going to run a qualifier and do it in January. And if you get 25 people, cool. And then so many months later, 3 months later, you can run another invitational. 3 months after that, you can run another qualifier. You have to just put in for it and you get approved. But this way you can have more people coming instead of one event one time a year. So you get more people coming in and playing all the time. And so we made it a little bit more accessible for everybody in smaller stores, because I'll tell you, a store loves when foot traffic comes in, because even if you come in, sometimes you're walking out with something and you didn't even want to walk out with something. So we wanted to make it where everybody felt that they could do this and everybody could participate and everybody could have fun, and you could do it more than once a year. Promotes people traveling. I miss traveling to, store events and playing with a bunch of people. I mean, and y'all have got a great meta around that area. A ton of people that can play. And, traveling 4 hours to an event, I would do in a heartbeat.
Now, we actually have some people that are doing like the 3 or 4 hour traveling just to our steamroller that we have actually scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be crazy.
Yeah,
good.
We're, like, really excited. I think it's gonna be the first time we're having like a 16-person event in our store. It's like really exciting.
We even have a player who's on one of the world's teams that's coming to play tomorrow. So we're really excited. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And the thing is, and that's what it is. When you really think about it, when we play War Machine and Hordes, yes, we all want to win. Yes, we want to get the big prize. But you really what you want to do is get together people with like minds, see what cool list they've got, play your cool list, and just have a good time with people. I mean, that's, pretty much what it really comes down to.
Yeah, so we've kind of noticed that, too, with our group, that we're having so much fun meeting new people and sharing this game with, people that haven't had either a lot of experience with wargaming or are familiar with privateer press games. And it's just been phenomenal. It's the energy in the store is really good. The energy at, like, our open plays and even our tournaments, it's not so cutthroat, competitive or rough. It's just we're all sitting around a table playing a game together and just enjoying it, enjoying everything, the models, the people. It's great. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what it should be. Like I said, of course you can always people want to be competitive and get that first place, but when it comes down to it, we're here to play with little metal dolls.
Oh my God, I am taking that.
Yeah, I mean, we're pushing little metal miniatures across the board, and a couple of people used to give me crap because I would make sound effects when I play, and I'd be like, someone rolled a hit, and I go like, he dodges, and I'll like dodge at the table, and they're like, you're weird, Gonzo, and I'm like, yes, I am, and I'm having a blast doing it. Like, he shoots, he misses, dang it, and, go on. You can be super competitive. You can be, you want to win, you want to be the top player in the world, but you can still have a ton of fun. And you can still educate people too. Plenty of times, I went against Adepticon. I went against this guy and I was playing Kador Rocket Spam when it first came out. And so I had, 27 million, rockets and Vlad on the table on there. And the guy looks at me and he goes, I'm going to get beat, right? And I says, well, do you want to do this as a learning game? Do you want me to help you and walk you through some stuff and figure this out? And he goes, I do, but I don't want you to coddle me and, throw the game. I'm like, okay. So I'll just describe it as going. And, when we were done, I had walked up to the table to turn in our results. And, I had tabled him to the man. And, Hungerford was at the time and he was like, Gonzo, where is he? He's like, right here. And the guy had a big smile on his face. He's like, no, we had the most amazing game and he taught me so much and I got my butt handed to me and I will do that again because that was the most fun game I had losing. And I go, that's what we need to do. We need to cherish those moments we have with these people because you don't want to beat somebody that they quit, but a lot of people don't want to play and, have the game handed to them either. You got to find that fine line to helping and having fun.
We've had that same conversation like internally when we would go off and do these open plays in different metas. Like Maryland was one that was just like getting started when we were kind of like established, and we went to their like, what kind of games are they interested in? And you're absolutely right. You can't just coddle your players, but you don't want to just completely table them, and also just having that dialogue ahead of time because that one negative experience, they may not come back from that.
Yeah, and anytime I play someone new, I go, anybody new, I'm like, hey, how long have you been playing? It's that social contract that you should have with a player when you get to the table. Hey, my name's Gonzo. How long have you been playing? What are you doing? Do you have any questions about my list? That type of thing. And if it's at a store and it's not a tournament and stuff, I was like, would you like some help? Do you have any, whatever, build that relationship because if you're going to be a jerk to somebody and kick them off the table, you're not good for the community. We need new players. And so seeing, the forums light up or the Facebook pages light up again with people buying new stuff, I'm super excited because I'm like, please come to Warfare Weekend so we can play and you can have a good time.
Yeah, it feels like there's a real renaissance with this game going on right now. So out of between the dynamic update from last year or just the positive energy going on right now, it's War Machine's in a good place.
It is. I mean, people were saying the problem with War Machine and Hordes, and it's not even the problem, is that we're so used to always going to tournaments that we keep on forgetting that we can go to each other's house and play. Or we can go, or we can get together with our friends. But of course, COVID put kind of a nip on that too. I wouldn't go over to my friend's house. I love him too much, and I know he can't get the vaccine, so I'm not going to kill him, type thing. Right. So, you had to go with that type of aspect. But for the most part, it's, just get together and play games.
Gotcha. Well, Gonzo, I wanted to just ask, and I'm going to go back into this running the Warfare Weekend qualifiers, because we were talking internally. We're designing this event, the Susquehanna Scuffle. It's starting off as just a team event between our store and, Maryland's Critical Hit game store. And we're talking about if we wanted to go do a Warfare Weekend qualifier, what would be the steps for us to go do? Not this year, probably, but if we want to do for, 2023.
Why not do one this year?
We don't know what we're doing, Gonzo.
All right, I'm going to tell you how to do this.
For being honest.
All right, here you go. Go on there, sign up on the Google form. All you got to do is sign up, choose a date that you're going to do it, and I would definitely choose it, a few months in advance. Look at the sheet of all the qualifiers and see if there's anybody around you on a date that you want to do. Okay? So, you don't want to conflict with somebody that's having a large qualifier, 3 hours away type thing. You just want to have, a space where it is. Sign up for it. We approve it or disapprove it because you got to follow some rules. There's basic ones like you need to have, what your event's going to be, how many points, if you're going to have any, type of extraordinary rules, like you have your list put in at a certain time or whatever. And those have to be published 2 weeks before the event. They can't change.
Okay.
And that way people that are flying in or driving in are prepared. You don't want to show up and say, hey, I prepared for a 75 point, but when you show up, it's a 50 point event. You know what I'm saying? So you just want to make sure you stick to it.
So for our store is a little bit on the small side. We can really only have a max of 16 people. Is there a minimum amount of players?
Nope. I've had an 8-man go before. I've seen an 8-man tournament, and we've got rules for people that go below 15 points on how those points are distributed. And all it is the maximum amount of players is the maximum amount of points first player can have if it's under 16.
I was wondering what the calculations were. I forget I think I was maybe looking on your website, and I guess does that Google Sheet break down the point calculations?
The Google Sheet doesn't. The Google Sheet, if you look on there is the rules, and you can go through the rules, and pretty much all you got to do is run a steamroller.
That's what I was going to ask, because it just seems like it's just nothing more than a steamroller with a couple of extra steps that were put into it.
Yeah. If you look on the website, pretty much just a steamroller. We just make sure that you can't do, because at one point we had people that were doing an invitational, and this is the reason why we're also jumped to the new system. They would hold secret qualifying events to qualify for their invitational, and they held them throughout the year. And I'm like, that's not really nice, guys. And so people weren't able to get into the qualifying invitational. And so we don't do that. Now, if you were to do all the events on one weekend, like at a convention, that's fine because everybody's there for that. But pretty much it is a steamroller. That's all it is. If you can run a steamroller, you can run an invitational, or qualifier, I should say.
And I'm asking this, is that what happens if the event's like a bust? Let's say we try to do the qualifier, we try to run into the store, but something crazy happens. Do you give us another opportunity? Do we have to wait 3 months?
Of course. We don't, life happens. There is no reason not to stop anybody. Now, if you, I will say this, that if you decide to, and I'm not saying you in particular, but if someone says we ran an event and we said it was going to be a 75 points, and the day of we went to 50 and we banned certain lists and banned certain people and went against the steamroller packet, yeah, we would need to have a talk and see why it happened, because that's not what it's about. It's supposed to be choose a point value, play the steamroller, any variants, if you're going to do a final table or time turns or, whatever that you wanted to do based off the steamroller. You do that. But if it's we just didn't have a lot of people show up, I'm like, that's okay. We all have bad events. We all have, times that, things just happen and life happens. So one thing COVID should have taught us, we need to forgive and forget on stuff like this. And some people are still just not comfortable going out.
Sure. So how about for sign up? So what our group does is we use Google Forms or Paul will post on Facebook for signups for our steamrollers. Are there other websites or programs that you would suggest that would be more official or more effective?
Never give an official. You do whatever you feel is comfortable, and it will benefit you the most to get people to sign up. If it's a Google form, if it's just people, calling the store and setting up and, prepaying for the event, if it's doing, PayPal, whatever. You do whatever makes it easier for you. Some people use like Best Coast pairings to help out, whatever makes it easier for you. It doesn't have to be, of course, like large conventions, that's a whole different story because they have their own software to do that. But whatever makes it easier for you, just, there's like, when you set up like a Facebook event and you set up, this is our qualifier, this is what we're doing. We've been approved. Here's our date. Here's, all the logistics, that we're doing, 75 points, so on and so forth. And you're letting it go. And then you just, go for it.
Okay.
That's like really cool. We do the steamrollers successfully at alternate universes. This might actually be something we can talk about internally. Just turn one of our steamrollers.
How many people do you get usually?
It's just been growing every single time.
It gets bigger every event that we have. It's growing exponentially. We have to turn people away, because we have too many people.
We don't have enough tables.
But that's a good thing to have. All it is you're technically running just a steamroller. We just make sure that you run a steamroller the way it's supposed to be run, and you announce it early in advance so that people, don't, like I said, don't show up, expecting a 75 point, and, it's a 50 point, and you don't change it.
I guess, like, how advanced? Are we talking like a month advance? Is that too short? Like 2 or 3?
We have a minimum of 2 weeks time.
Okay.
So that's the minimum time you can get an event, because that gives you plenty of time to promote it and plenty of time for people. I just approved and put up an event that is like 2.5 weeks before the event. It fell within the parameters of the packet. They posted it. They've already said they got it, and they started promoting it. And it happens in 17 days.
That's really cool.
All it is a Google form. I get a message. I look at it going, oh, someone put it in for an event. I go and check it, approve it, deny it, talking with committee members. And most of the time we're all just like, yeah, are they following the rules? Did they say they follow the rules? And then, because if anything happens that's outside of it, we hear about it. And very rarely does that happen.
Now, this has been really informative. Like I said, going into this, Paul invited me on the interview with you both. I really went into it I wasn't very knowledgeable about the whole thing or the process. So, thank you so much for sharing your time and coming on and explaining everything.
That's what I love. I love to talk anyway. It's Warfaire Weekend is a ton of fun. And if you're not a competitive player, we have plenty of things to do for people that are not competitive players.
Yeah, I want to go. My husband just got back up here. I want to go. Yeah, I want to hang.
Oh, we have they're like, usually we have Scrabbles run nonstop. I think we had like 64 people playing in the Scramble. So, all those 8-man pods, we had a total of like 80 at one point. And last year we had 0 Scrambles go off because everybody was out socializing and hanging out and just playing random games and just having a good time. And we're like, don't care. You came in, you bought your ticket. You can do whatever you want with your time while you're here. And that's what we want. We want people to come and play and socialize and have a good time and say that they had a good time and come back.
Well, Gonzo, we're getting to the end of the episode. Did you have any closing remarks or final thoughts or advice you'd like to share to the players that are interested in going to their first qualifier, or those community leaders that are interested in running their first?
Do it. I'm going to tell you right now, just do it. There's always been this talk, that the PGs are gone and it, folded the entire community. Your PGs are out there. I'm a PG. There's a ton of PGs. We never stopped running events. We just don't get, compensated for it. And if you're not going to run an event because you're not going to get compensated for it, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So it's up to you to go out and build up and do your things and have a good time. Y'all are doing really good. You're telling me you might have to turn people away from an event. It's good and bad news. It's good news because you're getting more people. It's bad because you may have to find another place to, host a tournament. But
yeah, we've discussed that recently, looking into our summer steamroller, that we may have to look at a different location just because we want more people.
Yeah, but that's a good problem to have. people are going to look to other people that are running stuff. People always ask me, run this, run that. I'm like, okay. And I'll do it because I like people having fun and doing fun things and then coming to me and saying, hey, I had a really big blast. I want to do this again next year. I'm like, good. My job is done. That's what it is. So keep on running your events. Keep on having a good time. Keep on doing all the cool stuff. Go out and do it. Do it.
Gonzo, thank you again for coming on to this episode. And I guess with that gets us to the end. Unless, Erica, did you have anything else that you want to say?
Yeah, Gonzo, just thanks again for sharing your time with us tonight and your knowledge. It's, between you and Seth, I've learned a whole lot. And
I don't know this Seth guy. I'm going to have to talk to him.
So just thank you again. And I think for our community and our group, this is a long-term goal that eventually we want to host, a kick-ass War Machine and other game weekend like that you guys are doing.
Go for it. I mean, you are always welcome. Anybody is always welcome to send me a message, friend me on Facebook, ask me questions. I will share all bit of my knowledge free. I don't do anything. You got questions, I'll answer it. I mean, how do I do stuff? I mean, people were like, how do I get Privateer Press to send me a prize product? Send them an email. You just send them stuff.
Oh, yeah. Privateer Press, they've been great for helping us out. And I'm surprised that not a lot of people reach out. They ask about the support. I'm like, just email them.
Yeah,
I've only had positive interactions with them.
Yeah, they've gone way above our expectations with supporting our events.
Well, I think that's because they're used to other companies not. Other companies, you'll ask them for price support and they're like, no, or, they just ignore it. Privateer Press is very much into, helping grow and, that mentality of, we know you're the reason why we keep our job. Like, here's some cool stuff. I mean, I emailed them and, everybody's like, well, you're Gonzo. You run Warfare Weekend. They'll give you anything you want. I says, all you gotta do is ask them. And people are like, I emailed them and they sent me, a box full of cool stuff to give away. I'm like, that's all you gotta do. I mean, they're really good people.
All right. Well, just thanks again. And I mean, that's really all I had, Paul.
Yeah, Gonzo, thank you again. And with that, on our next episode, we're going to have the gang all together. It's going to be Erica, Dan, Andy, and I. We're going to go debrief Liberty Brawl, see how it went, and I guess discuss if we want to go host our first Warfaire Weekend Qualifier event.
I'm feeling motivated.
Do it.
Super motivated. So from all of us here at Try to Shoot, we want to thank you for listening. We'll catch you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Bye.
Later.